listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome. Welcome to Second Wind. You know, this is a show that's all about women, and we're passionate about women on this broadcast, about them reaching their full potential and living that life that only they can live. It is your life. Only you can live it, and it's waiting for you to claim it. My guest today is Lulu. Where did I just change your name? Lulu Trevena. And her topics that we're going to be talking about today are women and feminine wisdom and aging. She's also going to share soulful living and being grounded in soulfulness, which I'm most interested in knowing more about. The importance of gratitude and blessing. But before we get into that, I'd like to share with you a tool that I have for you, and that is called my book, and it's called Effortless Happiness: How to Find Your Voice and Finally Ask for What You Really Want. This is a tool that I created in my transition when I finally found one of the most important things about knowing who you are, and that is your values and how they play in your life, how you act them out, how you got them, how you develop them. All of this is another step about understanding who you are and how important it is that you know your values. So if you're interested in taking a course or a step on your own, you can go to my website, Joyce Buford Empowers, and there you will find where you can sign up for your copy. I just finished my course that I completed, a fairly new course, 2 weeks ago. And so in the spring, we'll be offering this course again. And I hope you'll think about being there if you want to be taught one-on-one. So anyway, thank you. As we move into telling you more about our guest today, Lulu Trevena. Now, Lulu is an award-winning author as well, and her book is Soul Blessings. She is also a speaker, artist, and mother of 3 daughters. She's the founder of Live Life with Wonder. Now, she is indeed a supporter for women in their own self-empowerment, honoring their personal truth and dreams, clearing away whatever is in the way of their embodying their full feminine presence. Now, Lulu is passionate about shifting the societal narrative around women and age so that we are more confident in aging and happier in aging. She has numerous existing online groups, which you'll find on her website, which is livelifewithwonder.com. But she covers topics as gratitude, card reading, soulful living. She has many, many, many resources to help you transition into being the magical woman you are meant to be. So welcome, Lulu. It's a delight to have you here.
Thank you, Joyce. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I love that you put that you were a mother on your bio, because I think sometimes we forget about those very important personal parts of who we are, how they frame us, how they make us, how they create our environment that we live in. So you are the mother of 3 daughters.
I am. So our daughters are 27, 25, and 17. So it was like I had my second family with my same husband, because there was a big gap between the last two. And so she was born when I was 41, the last daughter.
Oh, there's so much discussion around age, the age to have a baby. Did you have that as easily?
Yes, I did. I actually also had home birth. I believe birthing as a woman is such an empowering time for us. And my second daughter also, she was born at home. And I really felt that women do have that power, and sometimes we do hand over our power. And I'm not saying we don't need the medical profession. We definitely do, but we have this innate knowing within ourselves. So when possible, I'm definitely an advocate for women knowing what they want in the birthing process, and also feeling that is a beautiful initiation as such for themselves and their bonding with their child and their family.
Mm-hmm. It seems like when some of the conveniences and the new medical processes come in, that sometimes we move toward those and lose some of the wonderful benefits of what our bodies can handle and what we're able to do. I mean, our bodies are pretty amazing. And so it gets lost in the modern times, let's say. I think it happens a lot.
I was reading some studies done about things like blood pressure, etc. And all the studies have mainly been done on men. So it's only in this last, say, 10 or 15 years that we're actually realizing even just the biological makeup of, you know, the men and the women needs to be studied slightly different, so that we can have the right, you know, processes, the right things for, you know, each gender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You like to talk about the wisdom about aging. There's so many women that are concerned about the aging process and how that's going to act out in our lives, what decisions we have to make, whether we really do or not. We kind of, by our environment, are kind of forced to look at these things. How have you addressed some of these issues with your work?
So what I've found with the women that I work with is, especially at this time that we call, you know, the second life or the golden years, or however we like to frame them, is a time to really look at what it is that's happening for you physically, emotionally, mentally, and also writing it how you want it. I think, you know, I was speaking to you before, Joyce, that, you know, my grandmother, she passed at 105, so she had a very, very long life. And my mother passed at 58, so that's quite a big difference. And I myself are 58 now. So, you know, age has changed and society has changed the way we look at age. You know, I have new friends in their 70s and 80s that I just love to have fabulous conversations with. But of course, when we were younger, we don't think of what people give at different ages. So if we really look at what we have to offer society, what our experience and wisdom that we can also, you know, give forward, as well as looking what are our needs at this time, because our needs are always changing, they're always evolving. So really coming back to yourself and knowing, you know, all depths of yourself, so that you reclaim what you want to reclaim and also create what you want to create.
Yeah. You wrote your first book at 55. And why did you write that book, and what is it that it tells us?
So my book, Soul Blessings, is I call it poetic prose, and it's about inspiration, about living from a place of soulfulness, listening to your own wisdom and guidance. And I guess it took me longer to write than I really, if I looked back, what were the stopping signs? And usually the doubt was often self-imposed from someone else. And the more I actually put my work out there, I wrote for Elephant Journal and Tattooed Buddha. And when people started to respond to my words, it was, it was an affirmation. We do need that outside acknowledgement as well as our own, internal owning, what we're saying.
Definitely.
So I think it was just the prompting of, I've got something to say. I want to give that to the world, and it was received really well at that stage. So it was, the book kind of flowed very beautifully because I met the beautiful artists, because my book has full color art. Every page is full color art. So it's a piece of art as well as with the beautiful words. We met very synchronistically, and it was through this meeting of two people with big hearts that wanted to work together. And from that meeting, it was very quick in the, the coming to the publisher and all that sort of thing. But prior to that, it was like more long and drawn out. But once we met, it kind of just flowed forward.
That had to make that a very enjoyable project. I mean, to have it move like that could have been very rewarding for you as well as her.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely. And, don't we all want ease and grace with everything we do? We don't want to we want to put the effort, in, but we don't want it to be hard and arduous.
Yes. I know. I was thinking about when I was writing this book, I was so passionate about it that it kind of propelled me because it was in my own healing process. And so did you find that your book was a healing process for you as well?
Absolutely. And I think, as I mentioned, I did have doubt before, do I have something that anyone's interested in to read or, want to know about? And when we move through whatever our own blocks are, it, it helps in our process, but also usually it helps in someone who's listening to what has happened for us, and they go, oh yeah, that resonates with me. I really get that as well. So, I often think we're healing each other as we gift each other our own work into the world. The healing is kind of circular, it's for us and for others.
So what was your biggest challenge in writing the book? Your acceptance as a writer, or what was your biggest challenge?
I think getting past it had to look a specific way. I think what I had in my thoughts, because I've always wanted to be a writer, I had this thought that it was going to be, this self-help book and it's going to have all practices. And when it evolved into this beautiful work of art, which of course connects to my heart deeply, being an artist, and the beautiful words that are very spiritual, it was me trying to understand, this is the book that I needed to write first, as opposed to, I was supposed to write an ABC self-help book, So it was letting it be as it needed to be, but also allowing it to come through. Sometimes I've said to others, it felt like it just flowed through me. And even though I own it as my book, it flowed through me. So I think it had a lot of, divine guidance to it.
Beautiful. Sounds beautiful. Now, our listeners may notice that you have a little accent. Of course, I don't have one. I'm only from the South. But you moved to the United States around 50, right?
That's correct, yeah. And as you say, you're from the south, and I'm from the even further south, called Australia. So, yeah, it was in the year I turned 50. My husband's position here was to establish the business here. We owned our own business, so he was coming to the United States to, grow that marketplace. And I remember thinking, I'm changing my whole life at 50.
Yeah.
And while it was both exciting, it was also letting go a lot of the known. I had very strong communities in Australia. I had connected with, lots of people over my years living there. And to start again, always has that, I guess, both those aspects, the excitement and the terror, and they're like holding hands and which one's going to win. And I think it was a blessing that I still had a younger child. As I said, she was born when I was 41, so she was only 9 when we moved here. And so that was really wonderful because my older 2 were going into college.
Yeah.
So, we moved from Australia to Atlanta, and so I'm still in the South, just, the south of the United States now.
Oh, I'm so glad you came to the South. Atlanta is huge, though.
It is, yeah.
I have been there visiting friends as well, and I couldn't believe how large it was. I was coming into the city, and she said, well, just get on the train and come out to where she lived. And I went, what? You aren't going to meet me at the airport? I'm always from small places. And so going to the airport used to be a big thing. We're going to go pick up our company. And so it was such so did you have an adjusting to living in a large place, or do you live in one of the suburbs?
Well, I did have a big adjustment. I have lived in big cities in Australia, and we did live in Sydney, which is a big city. But prior to coming to the States, we lived in more a coastal, touristy type of town. Where my husband's company merged with another company. So we came from one traffic light or one, your sign to Atlanta with 8 lanes of traffic going in one direction and 8 going in the other. And I was, goodness me. Yeah, it was quite that, just that traffic situation was very hard to, navigate originally. And also, of course, we drive on the other side of the road to where you drive.
Right.
And the steering wheel's on the opposite side of the car. So there was lots of adjustments to, get used to.
Now, there's another part of you that I want to share, and I want you to share about it, is that you have this strong desire for community, building communities. And you talk about the sisterhood. How is it that you are so drawn to the importance of the community?
So I think I did have this as a foundation in my family of origin, that my parents were strong in community. And I'm one of 6 daughters, and we're a year apart. So, just our little family of 8 was quite a community. And I think in how we live our lives, we do live very compartmentalized. And, if we look back 20, 30 years, people did do a lot more things in community together, which I think we're yearning for still. And especially since, what's been happening this year in 2020, the need to connect with others is actually at a deep core level. So we need to be both seen and heard by other people.
Yes.
We need to have that companionship. And, especially as we age, it becomes even more important. We've heard of people that are alone a lot when they're older. And, as a society, we really need to address that more, that we can be in communities that support each other at many different levels. And I think the sisterhood aspect, of course, as I said, I have 5 sisters myself. I see that women, at times throughout their lives, there's been a lot of competitiveness. And I think we really all want to feel as if we belong, feel as if we're of value. And so as we build the sisterhood and do our own healing work to repair anything that may have happened, whether, that happened to us or that we may even have done to someone else, we grow this essence of how important we are to each other as, sisters. So I'm definitely all for making sure that we have connection, community and sisterhood. And with my women's groups, I run groups online, so I have people from all over the world, and those people depend on each other. There is they know that person is there for them and will hear them without any judgments or needing to make them wrong in any way. They're like an open sacredness to listen to the other person wherever they are at in their journey.
So how do you use the community? You do it I know you have groups, but how do you create your groups around, because you do so many things and you're very gifted by intuitiveness, and you've taken on quantum learning and soulful living and feminine art, the art of feminine. So how do you use this in your work?
So in my, I do have smaller groups of women that meet regularly, usually once or twice a month, and this is online. So on those meetings, we come into the meeting with a true honouring to listen to the other person and then allow us to reveal whatever we need to be revealing, releasing, letting go of, or even just having someone to be like a sounding board that we feel heard by. So these groups I run, they're just very, very beautiful, very soulful. Things come out from each woman that touches other women so deeply. And even when one person's telling their story, we can in ourselves hear parts of our story. And in that is that little, that, as I said, the circle of healing, that we get to heal something, even in the listening of someone else. And, listening, I think, is becoming a little bit of a dying art, that the more we can really take that time to hear the person and be really present to what they're saying, instead of having these quick conversations that kind of bypass and a lot of assumptions happen. We need to slow it all down and really listen. And that's what happens in these circles. When one woman's talking, no one is interrupting. No one needs to speak. Just this woman is speaking into the openness of the circle.
So if someone is in the audience and they're wanting to know how you create your groups, is it by practice, or is it they just say, I want to be in a group, or how do you place them in the right group for their needs?
Yeah, so I'm open to any woman, especially on this call, if they wanted to reach out and have a chat with me about, what they would be looking for as a part of sisterhood or community. And I would, like when I work with anyone at any level, whether it be quantum healing or the art of feminine presence or any of those modalities I do, I would be listening to the person and then, of course, place them where it feels that they would benefit for themselves the most, which, I guess am I tailoring it for the person? You know, within a group, sometimes we may be in a group, I've even found you may be in a group where, you know, there might be a little bit of agitation, but as the group builds, you actually realize, oh, actually, I realize why I'm in this group. This is what I'm learning from this group.
Yeah. Agitation is a way of a flag, isn't it?
Well, a lot of people want to run from agitation. Yeah. And what if that was a great learning opportunity?
Yeah. Groups are very interesting. I so agree with you that, one, I think our communication skills are really falling behind here with all the texting that we do, with all the other things that are part of our life now. Not only is the conversation not happening in marriages and in friendships, they're just not happening. They're not happening in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. And I see that just in the experiences in my life. So we are going to shortly be going to a commercial and taking a little break. But when we come back, I'd really like for us to talk a little bit about the importance of it in conversation in our life. And then also, I'd like to know more about what exactly is quantum healing. So, yeah, a little better definition of that for sure would be helpful. I know to me as well as other listeners. So we're going to be back shortly, and we'll be talking about more that Lula has to offer. She's so talented. I mean, there's so many things I want to ask her about. And we only have a certain time. From card reading to gratitude to soulful living. Oh, my goodness. So when we come back, we will be talking more with Lulu. I determined to change your name today. But thank you. So we'll be back shortly.
Transformational coach, motivational speaker, and author Joyce Buford returns after this short break. Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
Got a lead foot? According to state troopers, here's what not to do when you get pulled over. Don't be a lachrymous and start crying right away. It doesn't help. But if you're under 20, crying won't be held against you. Don't ask for a break, and don't yell or start any argy-bargy. And one trooper said, if they're going to flirt with me to get out of a ticket, it would probably insult my intelligence. But unfortunately, I don't get hit on all that often. So flirting or being a gill flirt won't work. Did you know that 15% of all drivers get 76% of all traffic tickets? And the odds of winning if you challenge a traffic ticket in court are 1 in 3. So what should you do when you get pulled over for speeding? Be courteous to the officer, and most of all, be honest. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Back to this segment of Second Wind. Joyce Buford, the author of Effortless Happiness, continues in this segment to share insights that will help you live a life of greater purpose and filled with happiness. Now here's our host, author and coach, Joyce Buford.
Today we are talking with Lula Trevena. And Lula has been talking about some of the fascinating things about women and appreciating aging and how important it is to feel our femininity as we continue that journey of our life. our special life. So before we left for break, Lulu, I had really kind of asked you to tell us more about the quantum healing, what that is.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Joyce. So quantum healing is, if you understand anything about the quantum field says that everything is possible. So we have this unlimited creative universal mind that is part of our actual life, how we live on earth here. Mm-hmm. So then when we're looking at our own healing, we often have things that have happened in our history that have a connection to our nervous system, connection to how we operate as adults that maybe not be quite healed. So we're more operating from this kind of more younger juvenile sort of place because it hasn't been healed. And of course it can affect our work, or it can affect our relationships, or, socially. And so when we actually work with quantum healing, it's like we go back into the field where everything is possible, mm-hmm. and we're changing the timeline. So we're repairing the timeline and we're rebuilding a new possibility into our life. And what I've found with my clients is they have massive breakthroughs, and they could have been in doing, therapy for 10 years, and then they have a couple of quantum healing sessions, and it's like it's completely not vanished, but it's completely at a level that it has no hold on them anymore. So they can, release decades of blocked emotions or trauma. And then they get to tap in more to their own personal joyous birthright or their own sovereignty, and they then operate from a more empowered place. And it's been just such rewarding and such beautiful work that I've been doing with women these last couple of years around the quantum healing. So, and me myself, I've been in the healing arts for probably 30 years, and I've found just having these sessions myself too, it's actually helped with so much more a deeper awareness, and mm-hmm. also creating more connection. Also, it can actually help with things that we say could be passed over from one generation to another. It's like we can rewrite our history of our family even. So mm-hmm. It's really beautiful. And, I said to you, Joyce, that I'd like to offer anyone that's listening to this interview that if they reached out to me and they wanted to do any healing or coaching work between now and the end of 2020, I would give them a 30% discount on any of the healing work they do with me. That's part of my offering for your audience.
That's great. That's great. That's a wonderful thing to offer. And I want to ask you one question about the Quantum Lady. What process do you use? And you talk about, is the healing physical healing, or is it like the one that we all have to deal with, the mind, the thoughtful, the negativity of what we've learned from our birth families over the years? I mean, do you go back and heal emotional problems or is it all physical problems?
No, it's on all levels. Yeah, it's on both. Yeah. So both emotional and physical, and also at the level of, from a child point of view. And as I said before, and ancestral. So it could be, things that you feel that actually that relates to my whole family. I see that playing out in my whole family. Mm-hmm. So it can be on many levels. Mm-hmm. And through the quantum healing, you can do specific healing around certain things. For example, I had a woman recently who had a very bad accident when she was in her teens, and how that had kept on playing out in her life. But it was a physical accident that played out also in the emotions and the mental. So once that got untangled, it helped her to see how something that happened to her physically actually affected her in so many areas of her life. So we're working on many levels at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds so interesting. And very beneficial. I mean, who wouldn't want to go back and just they're just tired of carrying around the big sack on their back, which they've inherited, or certainly it's become a reality in their lives. So what a great way and to heal. And you say you could do this work and it speeds up the healing in a shorter amount of time.
And, I work with people all over the world. So I work globally and online. So that, we were talking about the benefits of technology. This is one of those benefits that, I could be speaking to someone in Italy through the whole process, and they actually have the visceral experience in their own body and the openness in their thoughts that happens through the healing. So, it's just beautiful, beautiful work. And, as you said, carrying the sack, unfortunately, some of us even think there is no sack and it's invisible, but it still affects their lives. So we're about, unpacking all that baggage that no longer needs to be there.
Yes. You speak also about, and I do want to go back to this because we mentioned it before the break, how our communication, our community, and our communication has broken down. How do you feel about where we are in our communication skills?
Yeah, I think it's been quite telling this year. We've all had to look at definitely different areas of how we show up in the world, what our biases are, what our places where we're very resistant to listening to anyone else's point of view. Yes. Conversation, as I said, it's an art, and whether, I don't know if, 30, 40 years ago we actually learnt through our schooling or our families this different way of speaking to each other, or, and as we've gone along in history that we've unlearnt it, or, got too busy to have, deep conversations. So I'd like to say that we can turn this around, because I really do believe we can, that the more that we are in both the place of listening fully to each other, and also the not imposing upon someone, your viewpoint as if it's the most right, how we can allow the all of it, the all colours of the rainbow, the all, stars in the sky, the all grains of sand. Like, no one is more beneficial or more important. That in conversation, if we just learn to slow it down, to listen, to ask clarifying questions instead of just assuming, they must have meant that, because then that doesn't create connection. That if we were to ask another question, to say, actually, could you clarify that a little bit more, it then really builds that connection and builds that rapport that we may have lost somewhere along, the last couple of decades.
I have an example. In this area that I live in, my town, we're 100,000, so it's not just a little bitty town, but it's not as large as Atlanta, certainly. But we have a neighborhood communication line, you might say, that's through the computer. And it's been very interesting to see, particularly in this year where we are, as you say, experiencing unusual unprecedented difficulties in all areas, in our presidential race, in our how we can't be with our loved ones, and all of this. There's so much conflict coming up, and one thing that I've been aware of in just seeing this communication, which I did not participate in because it was just, you looked at it and you go, I don't want to touch that conversation. Mm-hmm. It's just too volatile. But the tolerance that we don't have for other people's opinion is so evident. Mm-hmm. We've kind of lost that. And it is, as you say, it's an eye-opener. Mm-hmm. It's definitely an eye-opener. So we need building our skills of communication again. You mentioned on one of the areas that you'd like to talk about today, about the creativity and being a wonder finder. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is that? It sounds
fun. So that I know that you've told your audience that my business name is Live Life with Wonder. Yeah. And, I actually registered my business name when I was in Australia, when I wasn't really in business. I was watching my youngest daughter play, and I was just noticing how she picked up the same thing a couple of times. And each time it was like, oh, wow. And so I was like, oh, she really lives life with wonder. Mm. And I've talked a little bit about, having connection and intuitiveness as part of one of my gifts. Wow. And I got this message, go and register that business name. So I was like, okay. And I registered it, didn't know what that meant. So I realized that often we're looking for that's something we've lost that we had when we were a child, that sense of being in the moment, having a fresh perspective, feeling just that bubbling joy or wonder that comes when we see things. And I used to say I was a wonder seeker, and now I've realized I'm actually moved from the seeking more to the finding, because I want to be finding the wonder along the way. Mm-hmm. So, as an artist and a writer, the creative process is one of those places that I do find a lot of wonder. I do find that in nature. I do find that in connection with women, or in my family or my children. So if as we age, if we come back to this thought of, am I living from, the same groove on the record, mm-hmm. or do I want to slip that record slightly over and come into a place of feeling more wonder, seeking more wonder, looking for more joy, not trying to always be stuck on my point of view, being open to the other person. Like, you can see how these kind of interplay in our life, that when we're stuck, we actually then stop a lot of the wonder. So if we can kind of move that needle, so to speak, we get a chance to recreate. And of course that means doing, your own healing work, having a really good awareness of yourself as things are happening. It works on many levels.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, you have also, you all mentioned about your offer for an interview with you and healing and coaching at a discount of 30%, which is fabulous. But you also have another offer that you were willing to
Yes, make. Yeah. So on my website, I do have my Soul Blessings book, which is an award-winning book. I won a Silver Nautilus Award for that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I have my Moments of Transformation card deck, which are like an inspirational card with also a little process to do. It might be a journaling process. It might be something going out in nature. There's a process on each card. And I also have a journal. So I have the book, the cards, and the journal. So if you were to buy anything on my website, from this interview, and in the comments you just said, mini reading. The people that buy any product, even if it's only one product, I'll give them a 10-minute card reading over the phone, precisely connected to something that they want to work with in their own life.
Oh, that's great. Now, I love that your momentum cards have an activity or a process to do. I think that's a great tool to have, because sometimes we read it and we don't, it makes us feel good, but we don't have a process.
True.
We need an action plan.
Yeah,
so
true.
I like that you did that. But how does your journal work? Is it just pages, or how have you?
So, the card deck, the Moments of Transformation, there's 44 cards in the deck. And the journal, how I created it is on every fourth page, there's just like a small sentence or one-liner that comes from the cards, so that a person could use the cards and the journal together. So they might have this process and then they'd write in their journal. So it is lined pages, but on every fourth page there's, a beautiful quote from one of the cards.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this question. When did you begin working with card reading? And you see, I'm getting that you're very intuitive. And when was that? When did you become aware of that in your life?
So I became aware of it when I was fairly young, around five or six. And it's funny you say that. I recently have been a collaborative author in a book called The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing. It's volume 3, which launches actually this Thursday. And I actually wrote my story about my intuition and my creativity in that book. And then I I didn't trust it enough. So I then became a migraine sufferer, and I was a migraine sufferer for like 15 odd years.
Wow.
Because I stopped wanting to listen to the intuitive impulse within me. So then it wasn't until I had my children that I actually felt like I came back into that. And so I've been using cards for probably about 26-ish years. My oldest daughter's 27, so I've been using it ever since she was born. And so trusting in that we do get guidance from many different areas, and it's just about, are we open to receive it? And if we close off, of course, that's not as helpful, hence my migraines. Or we could be open to receiving, and then also be quite discerning in what we want to, how we want to be directed. So it's a part of listening for guidance, but also knowing that you must feel that also in your heart and mind when you're taking that guidance.
For the listener out there that is just starting to trust their intuitiveness, do you believe everybody has intuitive?
I do, yes.
And how would they know they've experienced an intuitive thought?
So I think it's different for everyone, and you'd have to be in that inquiry for yourself. So some people might get a sense of like more a solid knowing in their body, or they might hear a specific word that relates to something else. So it can come from, many different areas, or you may hear a song and you're like, oh yeah, I was only just thinking about such and such, and you may remember, oh, that song I heard when I was in college, so it may connect things, but it's listening for the way that you hear it, the way that your body gets the messages, and then trusting in that. And I've even asked, I've said, so if this is really true, I need another sign now, and then be open to that. So I'm not saying like don't play a game with it. I don't believe you should do that, but getting that deeper confirmation if you feel that you need it at times.
I think sometimes I get that knowing, Where I just know that's the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always, sometimes I wander around. But, I kind of get that we all get it in a different way.
I don't know if you've heard it ever said that your gut is like your second brain. So when we say we feel it in our gut, it's like another part of our brain giving us information.
Yeah. I have a couple questions that I always like to ask.
Okay.
And what do you consider one of the boldest steps that you took so far in your life to take you to this point?
Oh, I didn't know that one was coming to me. Let's see, what are the boldest steps?
Yeah.
So I do believe that being a home birth mother was a pretty bold step. A lot of people have varying thoughts about that. And I remember with my first child, in Australia, you actually also had to have a backup hospital, and we went to an appointment. And this doctor was very keen on telling me every horror story. And if you imagine a 6-month-old woman hearing horror stories, you were thinking, well, I don't think I'd want you to deliver my baby. So I think it was bold. It was bold to be doing something that not normally everyone's doing. That I feel is actually quite bold.
Right. I'm asking this question sort of because I'm naive. I just don't know. In the birthing process, is the husband and the father as involved in that home birthing?
Yes. Yeah.
They take a much bigger role.
They
correct?
do. Yeah. And I actually had a water birth for my second daughter.
Yes.
And so, you have a big pool in the middle of your lounge room usually. Yes. So, my husband was in the water with me, and the midwife came, and beautiful. It was a beautiful process.
I bet. Yes, I bet. Now, we normally have a time in our life as well when we're taking our journey when we have to pivot. We have to change directions. We have to do something. Can you think of that moment?
So I think I've had many of those moments. And I'd like to say that when I was working, and I had a very successful career. I originally was a hairdresser, and then I worked for a very large hairdressing company as a trainer. And then to come from that to motherhood was a really big pivot, even though it was something I was looking forward to.
Yes.
It still seemed like part of me had to be complete. The pre-mother Lulu to the now the mother Lulu, that was quite a big pivot, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I kind of repeated similar, moving from the professional world into that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, well, thank you for those two surprise questions.
Surprise questions. They're always good.
They are, aren't they, when we kind of look back and we go, oh, well, I don't know about that. So we are coming to the close of our hour. This has been really time well spent. I'm so honored that you chose to be on Second Wind, because you've enlightened us with so many. I love the blend of your skills, talents, all that you have brought together. And I know that you do many great things for many people. So my audience can find you where?
So they can find me through my website, which is Live Life with Wonder. There's also, contact forms on there. I am on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram under Live Life with Wonder as well. And as I said, I had those couple of offerings. If anyone wanted to work with me in the quantum healing or coaching between now and the end of the year, I would give a 30% discount. Or if you were going to purchase any of my products from my website, I would give you a complimentary 10-minute card reading specifically for you, and that would be done over the phone or over Zoom. And I think, what I'd like to leave your audience with is that the journey to reclaiming any lost parts of ourselves is such an important journey. Don't ever take that lightly, that if you feel that there's parts that you want to reclaim, honor and respect, I think that's a beautiful thing to do in our lives, so that we live much more empowered and lives of vitality and fullness.
Absolutely. I'm a cheerleader.
Yay.
I'm a cheerleader.
I'm on that team.
Yes. So thank you. And I hope that you have many contacts with your wonderful offers. And people, just please go visit Lulu's site. Just go peruse and see what she can offer you, and get to become more familiar with her. So thank you so much, Lulu, for being here.
Thank you, Joyce. It's been my pleasure.
Now, as we go forward, I want you to focus, dear listening person out there, focus on how you're going to complete this week. Complete it in a positive way with thoughts of how can I change, or just remembering Lulu's words of keeping the wonder in your life to help you pursue and ask, isn't this amazing? So I think each of you are amazing, and I wish you the best week and look forward to seeing you next week on Second Wind.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.